So welcome, Cooking with Heart for Diabetes, Class 3. And today we've got a lot going on. So those that are in person, we've got some plates here, small plates to get like 5 bites. So that, and those at home, remember, we're going to do just like right around 5 bites. You need to do the mindful eating activity that we're going to do after we get through the kind of first presentation part. So super excited. So big thank you again to Trinity Health Foundation, to Genesis, to the Quad City Diabetes Association for sponsoring this, making it free to the community. So let's see, today we're going to be doing some really versatile recipes. So you can do the smoky triple layered smoky tortillas. You can do and you can use it for multiple dishes. I love it because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get 2 or 3 meals out of this. So there's all kinds of ways you can use the different layers. This is beans. We're going to do beans. So if you're like, I just have trouble with beans, Teresa. I mean, they look like beans, but they are lime. So that lime and the smoked paprika give it a really nice, and the red onion give it a really nice flavoring there. So just be open-minded. So we're going to be making it class. Oh, you got it. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very easy. And we actually use the liquid in the can. So it's just so easy. So, and then we're going to do the mouth-watering frittata, which is you can do in a mug that you have in your kitchen and just do it and then eat it on the go, or you can flip it, make it nice on a plate. So it's got lots of veggies. It's got the egg white for your protein. It's a great way to start the day. And you could have it for dinner too. So, okay, next week we're going to go over heart, some delve into heart, because once you are diagnosed with diabetes, you are considered a heart patient. That's the way it is nowadays because they are super connected, interconnected. And so your doctor is going to want to watch your lipids and your heart. So to watch for that, because so next week I'll talk more about why that is, and we're going to do best salmon, simple salmon ever. So it's super easy. And the cool thing is fish is one of those things that heart healthy, and it's so easy. Whenever I see it on the menu, I'm like, cool, that's going to be easy night. So, and then delicious overnight oats. So this is just another way to have oats. So you kind of hear, I'm encouraging oats over and over. So, so this is just another way to kind of spice up your options for oats. So, okay, now I want to hear from you guys. I've gotten emails and I've heard some people share. So I want you to share with the others what you observed. If things that went as expected, things that didn't, things you tried, all those kind of things, because a lot of you went for a lot of different things. A lot of you were doing the spacing out every 2 hours. I want to know what you observed about your hunger. Were you able to pay attention? We're going to talk more about that today. So please share. Who would like to start? What's that?
Yes, it has my.
You already emptied your body. Okay, you'll have to come up again. So that's okay. That's okay. You got time. So share. Some of you did some things. I know,
Yeah.
Vicki, you were saying.
I made the quinoa burgers. I made into a dip. I didn't drain the beans, and I made it looser, and I had extra avocado, so I mashed that up and put that in it, and I still baked it. But it was like a hot dip, and it was delicious.
So
I ended
the
it.
from the quinoa burger recipe.
Wow.
That's so cool. That's great. She said her husband ate it, and he was he's not fully on board with everything. So that's awesome. So other sharings, I know we've got some from our virtual guests here too. So anybody want to share virtually? Go ahead, unmute yourself or send in the chat. I know some of you have been doing lots of stuff. You've been sharing with me. They're shy. Diane?
Yes.
Awesome.
I tried the let's see. The quinoa burgers. And I'm not a real fan of the chili powder, so I use the Mrs. Dash salt-free spice that you had talked about in your heart class. It is so good. And I didn't have the pinto beans, so I used black beans. And it looked like a hamburger.
Wonderful.
And so I ate them like a hamburger. So
Uh-huh. And Diane, you've been doing some things about, your spacing out. So, if you're
Yes.
comfortable, share your observations there.
Okay. I don't have it down to a fine art yet. It seems like in the afternoon I start getting, I can't make the 4 to 5 hours in the afternoon. And so I'm going to try adding an ounce of protein or some fibrous vegetables was the comment that I got from you. And I think maybe that will help. But I am amazed at how much better I am sleeping. I have more energy now that I'm not eating as much meat as I was before, and that I'm trying to space out my meals. So
Wonderful.
It's hard for me to tell whether it's the yoga that I've taken up to or whether it is the eating habit, but I'm impressed.
Wonderful. Well, you've been doing lots of work and changes. So I just want to expand. So she's been working on the eating every like 4 hours. And like she said in the afternoon, she's getting hungry. She's finding she can't really go. And that's a great, first of all, she's probably burning up in a way her body is, that's a time where she's doing her higher metabolism. So she's learning that. And so she can look at increasing slightly, but she's close because she's not famished, but she's a little hungry and she's noticing that. So what she can do is she can, like we talked, she can add more fiber. And I would recommend, there's different ways. You can do it through intact grains or through vegetables, but I would first go with the vegetable because you're going to get carb with the intact grain. So I would try there just going up a little bit, like a half cup we suggested. The other thing is maybe an ounce of protein or a little bit of like a tablespoon of nuts. Those are all healthy kind of protein sources, just to kind of give her a little, just last a little longer. But also at the same time, you're going to find different foods just fill you up more. So just, start paying attention. So when I was in private practice many years ago, I'd have people actually take a list and figure out what foods really were the good things that really helped them sustain their energy. So you will find different foods will help you. And there's no, everybody's different. And I was talking with another dietitian today, and he had worked with patients doing a continuous glucose monitoring system, and they weren't diabetic. But we're moving into that era where you have personalized nutrition, where you find out more how these different foods and combinations, because we eat in combination, how they affect your blood sugar, because it is different from person to person. Sometimes you can feel it, but some of these changes you don't even necessarily feel, but they're happening with your blood sugar. And like I've said before, whether you have diabetes or not, we don't want these quick spikes up and down. Okay, that's inflammation there. That's also piping a lot of insulin. And if you really read up about what's happening in your body, insulin is the guy that gets out of control before the glucose. Okay, so there's some things that happen in your liver and your pancreas dealing with insulin that happen before you get diagnosed with the glucose. So when we're going up and down, we're having to pump a lot more insulin, or your body's going to try and maybe overdo it. So, okay, awesome. Thank you. Anybody else share? Yes.
In the morning when I have the bananas with my cereal, I've been taking a couple and cutting them up and doing the peanut butter and freezing them. I don't do the yogurt with it, but just
Yeah.
cut them up and a little snack later on or something if I need it.
Yeah.
I also bought some rice cakes and was doing those and splurging and bought some small wild blueberries and
Yeah.
doing that. And, she likes that too. That's pretty good. Which leads to another question. Instead of peanut butter, what about Nutella? Except Nutella has pretty high in sugar. Did some more research, and they do make a low sugar brand of version of Nutella. And I haven't done any more research. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Okay. I love Nutella. I actually spent my younger years in Germany where Nutella was like, I think it was
Yeah.
created there.
It's high in sugar.
So yeah, it
I
is.
got a low sugar version that Target and Davenport has.
Oh,
I haven't bought it yet.
okay.
I was gonna ask about it.
Well, okay. It's actually made from hazelnuts, which if it was just like hazelnuts with some dark chocolate, I'd be okay. Just look at the ingredient list and double check. Okay. So other things we do, peanut powder
is another, okay, that's okay. So I gotta look, you didn't see that. So I gotta not nice look. So,
How about almond butter?
yeah, almond butter, it's a little pricey, but yes, those are things definitely. And those are good proteins, they're seed, nuts, butters, those kind of things are great things. So I love that you're, trying things out, asking questions. If you happen to find a Nutella that fits the bill, let me know, okay? Because I get it in a blue moon when I make crepes in our house. When we have a treat day and we make crepes, because I have a Lefsa iron that does a great crepe. I don't know if anybody Lefsa, but it does great for crepes. But yeah, look for it. Let me know. Okay. So
Shoot a
these
picture
things,
of the label.
yeah, exactly. I'd love to see that. So you never know.
Not know anything.
And that's why I want you to read labels, because there's new products coming out, new formulations, they're changing formulations. So you need to double check things that you assume, always double check, every couple months. Yes, Bonnie.
I just bought some almond butter at Walmart. It has no sugar, no salt,
Yeah,
and I've been using that on my rice cakes.
awesome. Almond butter is a great option. Bonnie said she found some without any salt or sugar added. Great.
Yeah.
So if you like that, wonderful. So
Wonderful.
awesome. It is. It's a great protein source. So awesome, guys. Thank you so much. So, okay. Let me see. I don't know.
Did anybody else try the rice cake?
Uh-huh.
The green dip is really.
Yes. Awesome.
Like, I would make that for my current.
Okay. So yeah, Betty, she loves the garlic dip. So the yogurt garlic dip from last week. She said yeah. So awesome. Great. Well, I love that you're finding things, or you're starting to think about, this is good, but I can make it better. So, okay, let's switch on over to our slides. So we're talking about processed food today. Really important topic here. Okay. Okay. So, let's see. I left my mouse somewhere. That's okay. Okay, definition of processed food. So it's any food that's been deliberately changed in some way before we eat it. So, you have the apple on the tree, you pick it, you wash it, you bag it. It's actually technically processed. Now, I call it minimally processed. So the apple is kind of the minimally processed to the apple gummy bear is ultra processed, okay? Because you really can't make out the original foods, whole foods in the apple gummy bear. And it's got added sugar possibly, it might have fat, salt, that's ultra processed food means it's got a lot of fat, sugar, salt additives possibly added, one or more to that. So it's actually it's become more a source of sugar, salt, and fat rather than the whole foods. So technically, yes. Now processing is not bad. See, that's what I want you to understand. It's the ultra processing that we want to avoid. Now, processing has allowed us to have diversity. I mean, everybody in this room grew up where we didn't have available the produce that we have now. So it's amazing, and we have it all year round, some of these things. So, that's from processing. So great, strawberries and, oranges and apples that we have that are being shipped from different places. And so they're processed. So, cubed butternut squash, frozen, things like that. Success brown rice, so we can get things done quicker, but they're still minimally processed, the product in the end. Now, the downside with ultra processed food is, lots of salt, sugar, fat, stripped of the gifts that plants gives us. So, the ultra processed food, no surprise, can lead to chronic disease, but it's even more than that can lead to chronic disease more quickly. There's a study that they did a couple years ago, actually around 2016, 17, there was a lot of bashing of ultra processed food. It was the headlines and, ultra processed food is the reason for a chronic disease and all this. And Kevin Hall, he must be super connected at the National Institutes of Health because he said hogwash and he said, I'm going to prove it. So he got subjects and he got subjects that he recruited to stay in the National Institutes of Health dorm. Okay, this is a big deal. And he did a crossover study. In other words, he had the subjects for 2 weeks eat ultra processed food and then 2 weeks eat minimally processed food. They were paid $5,000 to stay in the dorm. And they prodded them and took all kinds of blood and stuff like that to see what was going on. So, and some of them started with the ultra processed, some of them started with the minimally processed, and then they switched. And they said they basically they matched them for calories, for sugar, for protein, carb, fat, salt, and fiber. Guys, do you know how hard that is? Whoa. I have not seen the menus. It's like top secret. I've seen a couple of them in the articles they've said, but they said the hardest thing was in the ultra processed to match it with fiber. They had to add fiber in some of the juices, so to get it up and matched. So they were same on those things, but this was ultra processed and then minimally processed. And then they said, just, eat ad lib, eat whatever you want. So they didn't give them any encouragement of, I don't think usually when they do these studies, they don't even tell them what it's about. They kind of mislead them in a way so that they don't know. So what they found was those that when they were eating the ultra processed, on average, they ate 500 calories more a day, ate 11 minutes quicker, and gained 2 pounds in the 2 weeks. Okay. So some of the things that have been released, I'm sure they took a ton, and the leptin was different. The ghrelin was different. Those are hormones that manage your appetite. So, so think about it. Here you are eating ultra processed food. You're going to eat quicker because it's softer and it's just easy to eat bites and gulps. So you're usually mindlessly eating. It's not going to tell you your fullness and your hunger. The way we're made right now are environmentally, evolutionarily what's happened. So we've got that going on. And then we're going to talk about some more. So some more things that creep in. So really the bottom line is you cannot eat ultra processed food according to your needs. You can't. Okay, I can't. I don't have extra willpower. That's not what I have. I just know myself and I eat minimally processed food constantly. Okay. It'll bloomingly ultra processed, but it's not what I bring into the house. It's not what I do at night. So, you just keep in mind that you're going to eat quicker. You're going to eat more. And there's stuff in the ultra processed in quantities that are going to be detrimental to your health. We're not even talking about that. So, it's just, people don't understand what's really going on with our food supply. So let's dig into a little bit more to this. So what happened? So how many of you have heard ultra processed food is an addiction, equivalent to eating like an addiction? Okay, so that's been put out there. I think that's a little strong for catchy headlines. Now, there is some relevance to that. I agree-ish. So here's the thing. We know your brain lights up when you eat the ultra processed food in your pleasure center, your reward center. So it's a lot like cocaine. It's not the same. It's kind of like comparing oranges to apples. They're not the same. They're both fruits, but they're not identical. So they both have vitamin C, fiber, and potassium, but they're different too. So there's going to be some differences there. But here's the thing. Eating, we have to face it 3 times a day at least. And it's legal to advertise. Okay. Whereas these drugs that are illegal, illicit, you can't do that. So they're not regulated like drugs are regulated. So, and we only need a little nudge to act impulsively. So we're bombarded with the food marketing, and it's at work, social media, at home, on our phones, at gas stations, movie theaters. We're just surrounded by it. So now food companies since the 60s have put together, when they make these ultra processed foods, there is not a dietitian that comes at the table, guys, okay, to make these ultra processed foods. They invite food scientists, flavor experts, psychologists, flavor architecture experts. Okay, that's who decides what the food's going to look like. And they want to sell the food so that you overeat. Okay, so you can't stop. That is your goal. They have terms for it, bliss point. So they want us to eat when we're not hungry. Okay, so, and our body, it's very good at telling us when we're hungry and full, but food companies strategize to sabotage this. So in the 60s, I don't know if you remember the phrase from potato chips, it was, bet you can't just eat one. How many of you remember that? Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, that was funny in the 60s, but now it has new meaning. So, and so the problem is this wasn't a problem for millions of years. Just the last 60 years or so, it's become a problem because the food that we have available, it's all times a day, and the food has changed that we're eating. It's ultra processed food. So we're continually putting on stored calories or body fat, especially visceral fat. Okay, there is, and we don't have time to go into, your body shape has zero to do with your health, guys. Okay, in some, you know, we can argue on this, but it's about the visceral fat that is really dangerous. So, and you can, from a visual eye, have visceral fat, but people don't know. Okay, and you can be extremely unhealthy. So, and overeating for many people has become an everyday thing, and they haven't realized it, that they are, because their body really can't even give them signals that are going to help with the food that they're eating. Now, when manufacturers create a product, they know the taste has to dissipate quickly. There's a 60 Minutes segment that I've seen online. I don't know if it's still online. It was done a number of years ago, but 60 Minutes was in a orange grove where they had these food technologists there, flavor experts, and they were chatting, and they got an orange off the tree and they opened it up, and they, all ate a piece and said, yum, 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 this is great. And the 60 Minutes interviewer said, well, so is that a flavor that you would, you'd create a product for? And they said, no, 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 it doesn't it dissipates too slowly. That's the way Mother Nature makes it. Ultra processed manufacturers, they want that to dissipate on your tongue immediately and go to your brain, because the faster it goes to your brain, the quicker the hit, the more the craving.
I have sugar or whatever, and it takes me like 4 days just to stop thinking about it, so I can go back to it.
Okay.
So it does stimulate your brain a lot more.
Yeah.
But if you just get past that, it's like cocaine or whatever. Take it. It's a drug. It stimulates you to want it.
So Bonnie shared for those on virtual that when she has sugar, it takes 4 days for her to work it through her system and get off of it. So now, throughout the grocery store, our shopping experience, there's a lot of intentional stuff there to get us to buy. So the goal is cheap, and that's where sourcing cheap ingredients has happened, putting more sugar, salt, things that we're going to automatically overeat on. So those are all things that they purposely do. Okay, so a little more about the craving and the reward. So, some of your favorite foods, taste good, but also are going to satisfy and stimulate our brain's desire for reward or pleasure. We have a pleasure center in our brain that food originally wasn't stimulating. So now I'll keep this G-rated. Food is not the only activity that can, stimulate that. And big food companies know this. So they put together the flavor and texture combinations. There's flavor houses on the East Coast, and some of these products have had 200 renditions to figure out, with tons of different flavor chemicals in them, to get the right combination. So, and our pleasure center isn't satisfied with just one taste or hit. Okay, the body really reacts to the reward and not the calories. And it's hitting a different part of brain that has to do with hunger and fullness. So it doesn't care if it's getting you to eat 300 calories or 5,000 calories. Now, you probably can't recall overeating on broccoli, but I'm sure most of us can recall overeating on Doritos or, ice cream, M&Ms, Pringles. So now not everyone is the same with regards to the pleasure centers too. So keep this in mind. So some people it really affects at an extreme level, and some people it affects some, but not as extreme. So we all have different responses to these pleasure cues. Another important point to point out is when we're talking about the reward centers, stress. Chronic stress heightens the sensitivity of the reward center, and it's going to increase to an increased appetite and drive for cravings. So you might find when you're stressed, you overeat, but that's also because you're driven to do that. So in response. So, and it gets tricky because some of our eating in response to stress is also from learned behavior. Okay. It's habit. We have a cue set up. We feel stressed, then we eat this, and we're led to believe it helps it go away. Of course, we know that's temporary. So it's this habit loop, but at the same time, it is stimulating your pleasure center. So food manufacturers cleverly know this, and they put out there this idea of just eat some chocolate or some ice cream to relieve yourself, relieve your stress. That's them, okay? So it's a distraction, really, if anything. It's not a solution. So when you're in pain, your reward centers are going to be activated and you're going to want to do something to alleviate it. And you've got these memory of these foods that you're going to be driven to go towards. So be aware that these are programmed into you for multiple reasons. So, food isn't magical, and broccoli isn't imprinted in there. So, so what can you do? We want to start tuning into our body and become aware without judgment. It's not something we can just flip the switch on instantly. Be curious. And if you can, start doing something, if possible, non-food, like abdominal breathing, walk, visualize a calm place. When I work with clients that have some times a day that it's very difficult, sometimes it's hard to do some of these things. It's like, I'd like to do a walk, but I just can't get myself to do that. Well, can you visualize some place that you love? Just go to that place, calm place, and bring your mind away from and distract it. And so there's some strategies that you can go into and visualizing the food and going to the and then switch over to the place, the calming place. So just getting more mindful, just slowing down and asking and being curious. And again, it takes time, because what you do, there's even a researcher, Dr. Judd, that he has a technique that he uses with food and smoking and some other kind of anxiety habits. And what he does is with the smoking, just to give you an idea, he tells people, go ahead and smoke. But what I want you to do is I want you to taste the cigarette. And I want you to smell the smoke. And I want you to smell yourself. And most people have never done this. They've never paid attention. And what he's doing is it's not an instant, oh, yuck, I'm going to quit. But over time, what happens in the subconscious and the conscious is that the reward that they were getting from the smoking, or in this case, eating, there's a reward. That's why you're doing it, overeating. The pleasure center, it gets smaller. It's not as big. When you start to taste the food, when you start to say, hey, I'm going to get a really yucky stomach ache or headache tomorrow morning, that's not going to be fun. When you start to associate that with the behavior, it takes usually 8+ times of it still engaging in the behavior further. We call it the reward. The bigger, better reward changes. So it's something that you have to just be curious about, not beat yourself up and just say, I just want to be aware as I go through this and overeat, or as I am trying to change this behavior. But it is extremely successful. He has a lot of success with it. So we want to retrain our appetite. So some of the things that we want to pay attention to is allow ourselves to get hungry. And you've been doing that. Some of you have been sharing. It's really important for a couple of reasons. It's a cycle that your body starts to trust you, that you're giving it food, that you're going to give it a break to do its work. And what we find, actually, this nice little cycle, if you give it a break, you're going to find your food tastes better, because your food tastes the best when you're hungry. Have you ever noticed that? When you're not over hungry, but when you're just got that ripe hunger, food tastes great, that first bite. So tell yourself, I need to stop now because I'm full, because I want to taste my food great when I eat the next time. Because if you overeat, then you're probably not going to be hungry the next time you eat. So there's, sensitivity to insulin that happens. And, it's just all these things that we were programmed to do that we've changed up. So, okay. So how do we slow things down so we can start paying attention to our hunger and fullness? Well, some things that you can do are put your fork down between bites. You can take a drink of water between bites. And if you're like, Teresa, it sounds great, but it's just not going to work for me. Because a lot of us are mindlessly eating. And so the other thing is to take your plate, dish out whatever you would normally, and divide it in half. And ask yourself if you're hungry. Yes, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat half of what I dished out, and stop and then ask myself if I'm still hungry. And if you're still hungry, then you can eat half of the half that's left. Divide it in half again. And you don't have to do this forever, but do this for a little bit to just slow yourself down and pay attention, because we are gulping food down for the most part, not paying attention. And our hormones, we're not going to have time to go fully into the hormones, but a little bit real quickly, your stomach reads for volume, okay? And that's neural, that's quick. So if you drink water, have soup, it's going to note that. It's the stretch. That's the feedback to your brain. So you get a little feedback there. That's not the final word, though. The final word is your hormones in your small intestine. And that is actually slower. That's why it takes 20 minutes. And your body is trying to say, did you eat just a big bowl of rice, white rice? Or did you eat some protein? And it's not super like detailed, but it's going to get a sense, because it's trying to tell you how full to feel to gauge how long to go for the next feeding. It works really well. Okay. So, but that takes 20 minutes. And that's why when we're eating the ultra processed food, we're eating it faster. We're not chewing as much. Chewing is, we don't need to chew to chop up our food. Our stomach does a really good job of chopping, but we need to chew to let our body know and get the hormones ready. It's a process. So we actually, there's some studies that say cortisol is higher with people that are eating on the go. It's just, it's messing our bodies up for what we've done for millions of years. So it's not a surprise that these things are happening. So we want to slow down our eating so that the hunger scale here, so that we're eating to a 6. Okay. 5 is where you don't feel hunger or fullness. It's neither. You pay attention to your body and go, stomach area somewhere here, I'm not feeling hunger or fullness. That's a 5. We just want to go into a 6, which is just starting to get full, because guess what's going to happen in 20 minutes? You're going to bump up onto the edge of 7 or into 7 a little bit. Okay, so you want to be like 80% full. Okay, ancient Greeks said hunger was the best seasoning. It is, because we want to get to 4, but not 3, because you'll overeat at 3. You'll be too hungry at 3 or 2. But 4 is where food will just shine. So 4 is where you want to. Now, when you start to feel hunger, if you're eating like we're talking about, not eating ultra processed food that goes through your body quickly and sends you up and down, but if you're eating this more substantial food, whole foods, when you feel hunger, you want to be eating within 30 to 60 minutes. If you go over 60 minutes, you're probably going to get too hungry. So that's when you need to have snacks ready. I have a very smushed up granola bar in the dash in my car. Now it's probably once every 6 months I eat it. It's not very often, but it's there just in case, because I'm not going to do a drive-through. That takes time, and I never am satisfied. I always look at the menu and go, oh, there's nothing on here. So, and then at home, I have my trail mix that I make myself in little containers that if I think ahead, oh, I might not have time to eat. So let me grab this. This will hold me over a little bit. So just understanding and planning, but setting up for the most part a pretty regular schedule. Doesn't mean you eat identical every time, but your body actually learns to trust and burn that off and not go, oh, I'm going to pack it as fat. So there is a little sense of that. So, okay. So smaller plate, when you go from a 12-inch to a 10-inch plate, you decrease your calories by 22%. Without just even knowing that, you'll do it. I'm not even saying you're supposed to put less. It just looks more. Eating mindfully, like we said, chewing well. Again, it's not so you need to chop your food. It's just part of the process. It really helps tell your body you're having a meal. And just remind yourself that you want to eat until 80% full. There's another saying that goes something like 8 parts are for health, and the last 2 parts, if you eat till the 10, then those are for the doctor. Because if you eat to a 10, you're going to be going into the doctor. Okay, so eat to 80% full. So, okay, here's our action steps, and we got to get going because we got food to make, and we got some eating exercise. So those of you that are at home, make sure you have like 3 to 5 bites of something. Anybody here that needs to refill or get some food, go ahead. We've got the hummus and the Triscuit. So yes, go ahead, Bonnie. We've got some more. So yes.
Ernie's keeping us on our toes.
I know, we've got to stand up. So Ernie is helping. So everybody stand up at home. I'm going to get off of here. Go ahead and stand up if you're at home. Take a stretch break while we're getting set up here. So, and I'm going to be on camera here while we do this. So, okay, so go ahead and sit down. Okay.
These are more than a bite.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. So, okay. We'll give it a second there. Let's see, let me get I'll go ahead and get my, I'm going to do these first. Okay, so first thing, I just want to kind of bring your mind to focus. It's not that a breath that we're going to do is any secret recipe, but it just helps bring you to the present. So just take a deep breath in and another deep breath in. Just feels good to just kind of relax and get present. So now there's 3 things that I want to connect with when I eat food. And I don't always do perfectly with these 3 things, but I just want you to start understanding that these are gifts that you have that you can do when you eat. So the first thing is to connect with the food. So we've got hummus for the guests that are here. You have at home different things, but just, we've got red pepper strips. So, red pepper strips are pretty amazing. We, think about, oh, I love, this with the hummus or the Triscuit. And I just connect with the food. How did it get there? Who prepared it? You're looking forward to it. So just connect a second to the actual food. Take a moment. Second connection is your body. Let's connect to our body and just think for a moment, how hungry am I or how full am I? Am I a 5? I can't feel hunger. I can't feel fullness. And think about where it is. Is it my stomach? Because sometimes you're going to feel hunger up here. And that's not true hunger, but that's something. That's your body talking. So just, what is going on in my body? I'm feeling stressed. So just notice that and have compassion. It's okay to eat when you're stressed, okay? But just be aware.
So, okay, so I'm at a 4 or a 4.5, okay? So, okay, so that's connecting with your body. The last thing is we're gonna connect with the food. So just go ahead and take a slow bite of whatever you have, put it in your mouth, and just let it sit there for a second and feel it with your tongue. What kind of texture does it have? Is it smooth? Is it bumpy? Is it crunchy? Go ahead and take a bite if it's crunchy and feel it spurt if it's going to spurt. And are you getting some smell and flavor through there? Just notice. And then go ahead and take it to the back of your mouth and swallow. Please don't choke. And then follow it down as far as you can go, your esophagus, but it's amazing. You can follow a little bit down to your stomach as far as you can go. So go ahead and take a sip if you have water, or, you know, put down your fork, or just take a moment to pause. And go ahead and take another slow bite up. Thank you. Yeah, we don't have water. Slow bite up, and just go ahead and enjoy that bite. Let it sit, twirl it around, go to the front of your mouth, back of your mouth, side, something like that. Take it, bite, see how the texture is, the smells. Maybe you don't like it. Notice that. And go ahead and swallow slowly. And if you want to, you can close your eyes. I see some of you close your eyes. That's great. It can, you know, just that way you don't have distractions. Go ahead and kind of take a breath, put your fork down, spoon, take a sip if you have water there. Again, just bringing back your attention to the eating. Now we're going to do a contrasting experience. So I want you now this time to go ahead and take a bite down and swallow, and done. And let's go ahead and do that again. Go ahead, another bite, nibble, whatever that is, swallow, and done. Now we've taken 4 bites so far. So what have you noticed between the first 2 and the last 2? Or maybe you didn't notice anything.
Didn't enjoy it.
Bonnie said she didn't enjoy it as much. Okay. Didn't really taste it, Betty said. Any observations there at home? I see smiles. So yes. Anything else you noticed? Were you able to the texture when you bit down? Were you able to notice some things about it? Smooth or bumpy, or it's kind of fun to do with a raisin too. So you actually can like feel it a little bit explode there. So these are all things that are there for the food. So go ahead and take another bite, but just enjoy it. Now, so how can you take what you just did and use that in your day-to-day eating? So it's not realistic to go this slow, probably for most of us, for a meal. But what can you take away that you'd like to incorporate in?
Okay.
Slow down. Okay, those are gifts. Don't cost anything. They don't change the food, but they heighten the experience. Other things you can think of that you can do and add into your daily eating. I highly recommend that you do a trial run of this hunger, fullness, and eating mindfully. If you can do at least one full day and put some reminders on, because we do get distracted, and just see how it goes. But the hunger and the fullness is really is a key step. If you can at least do that, and I usually recommend people try and pilot for a couple days. Just take notice. Do I take notice of my hunger and fullness? Yes, I do. Now, do I ask myself that question every single time I eat? No, but I'm just subconsciously aware. I am aware of my hunger. I do not like getting really hungry. Now, I do like getting hungry, and I do not like getting super full, really. And when I do, I'm like, darn what I do, it just really, it hurts. And it's like, golly, why'd I do that? So just starting to notice. I see somebody has sent us a message here. Let me see. From our virtual friends. Okay.
Anybody need me to grab them some water?
What a huge difference. Have not thought about it before. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, and these are just gifts, and it really does change how you eat. And we are finding it changes how you digest. Is it going to be the difference between, plaque buildup at 90% and 20%? Probably not. But, it is something that you can do on behalf of your health. And it's free. So, and most of us are missing it. And the other thing is, if you do this on some of your foods that you thought you really liked, you might find out they're not as delicious as you thought they were. I'm just saying. So you might find out that it's like, all this is salt. This is just salt I'm tasting. So, or sugar. So you start to pay attention to those things. So again, be curious and compassion. So do not beat yourself up. It doesn't help at all. So this is hard stuff we're doing. And I also do want to mention, I know, some of you have been sharing some wonderful stuff you've been doing, and kudos to you. I want you to celebrate. And some of you, your lives, you're handling a lot. So, and I don't want you to think, gosh, I'm not making as many steps as I really thought I was going to do for this. I'm spending the time here, but I'm just not making the progress. Hey, you're here. I know you're exactly where you need to be, and you're doing exactly what you need to do. This is a journey, and it takes time and patience and compassion. Okay, so we're going to make a frittata. So what I have here is for the microwave frittata, I just have a bigger mug from home. I make my oatmeal in this too, pretty much every day. So, but it's really perfect. You don't need any special pan and we've got some other weird sizes over there that we're going to do for the people in person. So, you just need something a little bigger than your 8-ounce mug. It's not going to work in that 8-ounce coffee mug or coffee cup. Okay, first thing we're going to do is I've already sprayed it with the nonstick spray there. So I'm going to grab the eggs. I have already split up 3 egg whites. So the egg yolk has wonderful vitamin A in it, some things, but it also has cholesterol. The protein is in the egg white. The wonderful protein is going to hold you over. There's nothing wrong with 1 egg, full egg, if you want to do 1 full egg. There is differences in people's sensitivity to cholesterol in the diet, but our body makes 4 times the cholesterol that we find in our, in what we eat. So it's not always just what we eat. So there is like 1 to 1.5 grams of saturated fat in 1 egg yolk. So again, I don't want you to be forever off of egg yolks, but we try and limit them to some degree. So if you wanted to add 1, you could. So, okay, we're going to put that in there, and I'm just going to, oh boy, my fork has disappeared. So we're just going to use a spoon. Kind of spin this up, get a little air in there. And then I have a 1/2 cup of 3 different veggies. You can't quite tell here. Oh, let me switch my camera while we're doing this. Let me.
Teresa, I'm not able to hear you. Teresa, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, somehow I hit that when I was up there. Okay, you can hear me now, right?
Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. So thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you took yourself off mute. So, so with the scallion, you cut off the kind of hairy end there and any kind of like slimy stuff, just, take them down and take it off. And then usually I'll cut off like a half an inch to an inch, depending upon how this looks on the end. But this part here is really important. It's got the chlorophyll, just a little lower glycemic index than here. So I chopped up that and used that in there. So we've got that and the red pepper. So we're just going to put that in there. I'm going to do a little whipping that together. And then next I'm going to add half a cup of spinach that I chopped up. Again, chop it up pretty good. I don't always in all recipes chop it up this good, but for this one, you want it good. And then we want to really work that through. I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning here. If you really like a kick, of course, try the chipotle. For this, I'm doing the table blend, so nobody gets scared. So I did the table blend for us today. So a teeny bit of salt and pepper. But we want a little seasoning. So again, just, get those bubbles going there, whip that up. And then I'm just going to put it in the microwave for 30 seconds at a time and get that going. And then I'm going to top off with the salsa and just a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese has salt and saturated fat. Yes, yes, yes. But, a little bit is a nice touch on this. So a little bit is going to be fine. So we're going to finish off with that once I get that. Now, if you use tomatoes or zucchini, you could use those if you love those, but they have more water. So all that means is you're going to have to microwave it probably another 30 seconds. Okay, chop them up small, but you got to evaporate off the water. So also notice with the baby spinach, I put the paper towel in there. Always have the paper towel. It'll last longer that way. So, okay, let me just check out them real quick. So you can kind of see here, it's not quite cooked, so we're just going to do it again. See? Yep. Tanya's doing it for the first time for you guys tonight. So we're just going to cook that again.
Want me to make what?
Okay, I'm going to get going on the beans too, because I know we're getting short on time here. So let me get my pan and grab this with all my stuff. So, like I said, this one is magical for using for multiple recipes. So, the beans, super easy. Black beans, no added salt. We're just going to, well, first I'm going to add the oil real quick. So let me add. Recipe are you doing? I'm doing the triple layered smoky tortillas. Okay. So I'm just going to add a little oil. Okay, we're doing good. So I'm just going to do one more and do like 20 seconds. So I want to make sure it's all cooked through. I can smell it. Chop that broccoli a little bit there. Just kind of, you'll see in a second why I'm smoothing this down. So, okay. Just do like 20 seconds. Okay. So it's hot. Watch it. So, okay, so I'm going to add actually half of, this is one red onion. So chopped up, it's a pretty good size, you can tell. So I'm just going to let that sit there and just let it sit a second. And then I'm going to add the beans with the juice. And I'm going to add my seasonings. So seasonings, I'm having trouble getting smoked paprika. Anybody else? This is Spanish, which is not quite the same, but it's better than regular paprika. So I love smoked paprika, but Spanish will have to do. And then chili powder and cumin, and then a little Dijon, and then also lime. And remember, lime we can squeeze with the tongs, so we don't need a squeezer for that. So you can hear that. We just want it to kind of brown. So it's probably pretty close. There we go. We already got some. This is such a hot, about 3 minutes, but this one is like super hot. So we're just going to add all the beans just like that. And then I'm going to add my seasoning. I'm going to add, let's see, my lime. This must be my lime. And then my Dijon. And I'm just gonna let that cook, and that's it. So it's gonna evaporate and thicken up. So it's really good. I love this. So it's a great way to get your beans. So, okay, let's see how we did here. Let me grab a plate. See how this works. So I'm going to take a knife and just go around the edges. I think, yep, it's okay. So you ready? Everybody see there at home? Ready? I better be careful. I could break the plate. Ready, go. See? And then we're just gonna, I'm just gonna take this and just add a little bit of the salsa there. Make it look nice, like I could do a Pinterest picture or something. So there, and then just a little dusting of the Parmesan cheese. Doesn't that look good? Yes. See how nice? Wouldn't that be a nice breakfast?
For a meal anytime.
Yeah.
How often should we really eat eggs?
Without the yolk, I don't see any problem. So Pritikin actually is perfectly fine with as many egg whites as you want to go. So, yeah. So, and you could buy egg whites. Make sure if you buy the egg whites in the carton, it doesn't have salt added. Some of them have salt. So, what? Yeah, and you just throw that. I do. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay, and then I'm just gonna get going, the peppers, and this is so quick. And I do want to talk real quick about the tortillas, because I know there's questions about the tortillas. So, let me see if this is gonna work here. Going, let's see, here we go. Here, I'm just gonna do the second layer. Okay, there we go. I think it's doing okay. Just add another tablespoon of the EVOO. Get that going. And then I'm just going to add, I've got red pepper here. We're going to add that. And we're going to add the rest of, oh, here's my lime. So I wonder what did I add before? I did. I added vinegar here. Okay. All right.
I thought that was in the rest.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I thought you forgot it.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully it evaporated off. Maybe I'm kind of making like we do salsa here. So I need to get a little bit of vinegar in there for the cabbage. So you have a new recipe. Yes. There you go. I like that thinking. Okay. Good. Okay. So look at that there. That's getting close. What I'm going to do actually is just add this. This is what I made before. Super easy. Guys, it takes like 6 minutes, especially on this stove. It's so quick. So I'm just going to heat that through there. This one I'll just cook through. And then let me get another 2 tablespoons of vinegar here. I think 3 actually. So let me just use this here. Let me multitask here. So I'm just going to add the vinegar and the sugar. And I'm going to put it in the microwave so that we dissolve it. So it just adds like pizzazz. I call it jazz cabbage. It adds some pizzazz to it because cabbage alone, if you were to eat it, is maybe not the most desirable thing. So, you know, you don't even, all you have to do is mix it in. I've already made this one, so I'm making double of everything for you guys tonight. So it's that simple, but I have cooked fish and put on top of this. It's really good. So, you know, cabbage, a little vinegar and sugar. The vinegar does help. Let me turn this off. Here it comes. The vinegar does, I don't feel so bad when I have like brown sugar or sugar in a dressing or like this. It's not that it's like totally not going to have an effect, but I've got fiber in the cabbage, and then the vinegar will grab onto about 20% of the sugar and slow down the absorption. So, you know, I know you're probably going, why'd she add sugar? Well, it does add a nice flavoring to the cabbage with the vinegar. Okay. So kind of like a pickling-ish sweet. So, I'm just going to add this because there's no heating up of it. But I have stirred fish on top of this. It's great in the tortilla. You know, it's great on the, you know, again, a bottom layer on anything that you put on top. So that's all there is to that layer. I'm almost done with the peppers. So you see how quick that was? Okay. So, now my cabbage, for cutting cabbage, it's basically like the cauliflower, except for it doesn't have florets that fall off. You just do half and then half again. So let me go through a half again. And then we look for that triangle again, okay? And we just cut that off. And now we can just shred this, with the knife. So it's that simple. So we're gonna have cilantro. Cilantro, this is how, did I tell you how to keep it like this before? This is how you keep it for 20 days. So in a little bit of water, rinse it off, put it in here, chop off the stem so you can fit it in there, put the top on. Change the water out every 2 to 3 days. So last thing I want to talk about, we can go ahead and probably turn it off. Good. Is the tortillas. So let me grab them. So I've got, and I have the aquafaba, so make sure I don't forget to tell you about the aquafaba. So, and we want to taste it tonight. So I have corn tortillas and flour. The reason why I didn't just do flour or just corn is because most people like which one? The flour. Okay, I know. But flour is really a big carb chunk. Okay, so this is the smaller, not even the big burrito ones are huge. So this is 148 calories. Again, I'm not a calorie counter, but it gives me a sense of the carb. It's 24 grams of carb. Okay, that's a lot of carb. Only 1 gram of fiber, and I don't even know where the fiber is coming from. Okay. So, it's enriched bleached flour and a lot of other things. So this is processed, pretty much ultra processed. Okay. It's more than what I call a carrier for the great stuff inside. It's contributing also. Okay. So one, I'm okay with. So a much better option is the corn tortilla, but most of us are like, really? Corn tortilla? Now, these are the ones that don't fall apart. Okay, so that's one of the big things. Now, of course, it's a smaller size, and this brand is Me Mama's, and it's in the refrigerated section. I went to 2 Hy-Vees because I didn't know it was refrigerated, guys. I was in, and sometimes people that work in the store don't know where things are. So I was like, oh, it's the refrigerated section. So, and this is the smallest bag you can get. So, but as far as ingredients, it's white corn flour, cellulose gum, formic acid, enzyme, and water. That's it. So it's not ultra processed. So it's just a little better option. That's why I put them together there. So it's got 2 grams of fiber and 20 grams of carb. So yeah, so it's less processed, a little more fiber, and a little less carb. So that's
Yes.
what? Okay, the whole wheat tortillas, they are still processed. And the ones I've had are not really great tasting. And they don't melt very well. At least the ones I've had. So the best ones are called Turmados, Turmados. Hy-Vee does carry them at times. And it's like 60 calories, so it's less carb. It's the same size as that. It's still what I'd call more processed, because if you look at the ingredient list. So it's a tough thing. For me, honestly, I'd rather just have the white tortilla one, fill it with good stuff, and not go crazy with it. So, it's a little bit better, but taste-wise, most people aren't crazy about the wheat ones. And spinach, the green ones, they just are coloring. It doesn't count as a veggie. So,
The carb balance, so make a difference.
the what?
The carb balance. The
Tell-
carb balance.
Oh, they probably are slightly better. Yes. Yes, they're going to be better, but it's not what I call intact fiber. It's added fiber. So is it better? It's a step better. Yes. Yes. So is it something that I'd have every day for lunch? No. Okay. But tortillas last forever. So, and I have them in my, I have kids that eat them all the time. I usually will go, if I'm like, I feel like a tortilla, I'll grab, I have these in the refrigerator, the corn. That's what I'll usually do. So, so you guys can test these out and see if you like these corn. Again, I'm not trying to make flour tortillas evil, but One here and there, fine. But having 3, 4, just know that's really going to hit your blood sugars, whether you have diabetes or not. So, okay, Aquafaba. So thank you for, I forget, she's not here right now. So I think she's at home. Is it? But she brought up the idea of Aquafaba. So here's the Aquafaba. So let's see, this is the one with the oil. This is without the oil. So you guys will have to taste. So I put the spatula, and for some reason this does separate. It did that on me at home. I don't know if I'm not doing it right.
The one with the oil?
Yeah, the one with the oil. I just added 1 tablespoon and half of it. So all I did was, here's my can. Here's my can. So you guys will have to taste this. I just took the chickpeas here with the no added salt. You want to make sure it's no added salt because otherwise you're gonna get a lot of salt in this. I just drained it. It's 3/4 a cup of liquid. That's what they say. So you can use another white bean, is what the directions say. And I just beat it till foamy. It works pretty much like eggs, not identical if you've done a lot of eggs, but it's pretty similar to eggs. Get it to foamy, so like 20 seconds. And then you can either add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar or lemon juice. I didn't have lemon juice, so I had lime juice. So we're going to see what lime juice tastes like. So it did the same as whipping up. Then you whip for like 7 minutes. It takes a while, but you get it to stiff peak. And then you add it, but it doesn't go bad like egg whites, when you go to stiff peak, go just a little more, you're done. You're like separated. It doesn't do that. It's nice. So I added a tablespoon of vanilla and 3/4 cups of powdered sugar. You could add a sugar substitute if you wanted to, but it needs to taste sweet. So, and then I just carefully added in the sugar, the powdered sugar. And then for some reason they said the oil, if you add 2 tablespoons for the 3/4 cup beat up, that gives it a better texture. I don't know. You be the judge, guys, here. I think the one without the oil is just fine. Then they said you can freeze it. I'm like, no, you can't freeze it. So I froze it. And then the next day I took it out, and only like after 3 minutes, I took a spoonful of each of them, and it was just like Cool Whip. So
What's it called again?
well, you call the bean juice Aquafaba. So we're making Cool Whip with the Aquafaba. So it's just bean juice. So you should have seen Tanya's face when I told her that I was making Cool Whip from bean juice. She was like, what?
Okay, Teresa.
So you may not want to share that with other people then. So
It's like, can we record their faces when you say it's bean juice?
yes, just don't tell them. Just make it, and they'll be like, there's something a little different, but I really like this. So yeah, nope. So let me see. I was going to take myself off this. Oh, well, sorry. I don't want to waste time. So, okay, we're going to try this out here. So again, the one with the spatula here has the oil added, and this one doesn't. So see if you like taste or body texture of it. And then let me show you a tortilla then. So let me just do one real quick. So here I'm just going to add the beans there. Then I'm going to add, I've got my red pepper,
Cook as fast.
and then here's my cabbage. So they don't cook as fast.
Dude,
Okay, she's in front of the.
Morningwear.
Okay. So there we go. And then we can put a little cilantro. I've got a little cilantro here. And sprinkle on avocado, wholly, if you have that at home, Greek yogurt. So, try this out. So you'd be surprised how great this is, and find, what layer you can use in multiple ways. Like I said, this will keep for several days, at least 3 days, all these layers. So how can you use them in other dishes? So there you go. So thank you guys. I know we're over. I appreciate your attention. We're going to taste here. And you could use a romaine lettuce leaf. So I've got my romaine lettuce here to show you. You could have done a wrap in this. So you can just tear it off, usually right like that, and you can just roll it up in there. So, and notice I put the damp paper towel on my romaine, on the bottom there, so it'll keep longer.